Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is an American film that was released in 1920. Now, here's the thing is there were three Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde films released in this year. The first one being the John Barrymore, this one, and then a German version. And when it comes to this one, as I was watching, it feels like it was heavily inspired by the John Barrymore version. Um, So we all know the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't really have to go into detail about that. The star of the show is Sheldon Lewis, and he there was a somebody who critiqued this film back in the day who said the script allows the character more background, but the problem is that Sheldon Lewis fails to bring this character to life. So you have more than what the John Barrymore version had that was released earlier in the year, but you're not giving us the substance that we need. And it's true. I was watching it and I was it was just falling flat. He just was not giving it his all with this character. It's like when you're and I don't know if he was overwhelmed by having to play these two characters, Jekyll and Hyde, which as an actor that can be overwhelming. I totally understand. But you should have said right off the bat, I can't do this, and they could find someone else. Because I was actually getting frustrated watching Sheldon. It was awful. Now, Jekyll and Hyde is one of my favorite, I've said before. And there was that one that was like in 1912, somewhere in there, and that by Thanhouser Company, and that was underwhelming. And but at least the actor who played Jekyll and Hyde gave it his all. He really did. Sheldon just needed to be kicked in the pants because everyone else did fine. Everybody else, I had no problem with. It was Sheldon. Sheldon is the star of the show, and he just I don't know. But here's the other thing. Now, first of all, I do have to say that the original running time was 40 minutes, and there's only 17 minutes that exist or that I could only find. Everywhere online that I looked, I could only find 17 minutes. So just be aware of that. Um, but I say heavily inspired, as I said earlier, I say heavily inspired because there were a lot of scenes that looked the same from John Barrymore, the John Barrymore version, which I've watched several times. I really like that version. And as I was watching, I was like, wait a minute, this looks the same. I mean, the sets were dressed up the same as the John Barrymore version. Some of the ways that Sheldon would try to act out the character looked the same as, I mean, the transformation scene was underwhelming, I will say, but it was almost like he tried to do the same as John Barrymore. And so I want to say heavily inspired. I don't want to say that they ripped off. I'm trying to be really nice here. I'm trying to say that. But because given the fact that there were three versions of Jekyll and Hyde, apparently that was the popular story for that year. I don't want to say that they ripped off, but there were scenes in there that it was like I was like, wait a minute. I saw this in the Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, in the John Barrymore version. So just be aware of that. And but yeah, as a whole, Sheldon Lewis, I'm sure that he's a good actor. He was a good actor in the day. This just was not his strong point in his acting career. Um, the sets and everything, it threw me because it did look like the John Barrymore version. I am trying to be very nice and say that they were heavily inspired by the John Barrymore because it was a success in its day. And again, three versions in 1 year. Must have been the popular version of, I mean, the popular story of the day. So this is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's an American film. It was released in 1920.